Good morning from Lincoln Woods. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm hiking Owl's Head, but I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to do if you're a beginner hiker to figure out whether a hike is good for you, bad for you, maybe something you can work up to. Got Barley on the hike with me today, and we're going to go up Owl's Head from Lincoln Woods. Barley's going across the suspension bridge for the first time. If you haven't been to Lincoln Woods, even if you're not going to do a big hike, this is a beautiful part of it. Let me start by saying this is not a hike for beginners, but I'm using it because there are sections along this entire hike that would be for beginners, intermediate, and then more expert hikers. So we can talk about all those along the way. First, we start off on Lincoln Woods Trail, which is a beautiful sort of rail trail. Very simple, not a lot of elevation gain or loss, and it's really, really nice to walk on. Some people might consider this more of a walk because you don't really gain any elevation, but I'd call it a hike. You're out in nature, you're having fun, you're learning what you can do. If you're enjoying this video or have enjoyed other of my videos, now is a good time to ask you to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and also the bell notifications in case you want to see other videos. It really helps me out. Thank you. Doing some work on Lincoln Woods, I see. It's like there's a little bit of a landslide here, but still as beautiful as ever. Before we get into the confusion that is topographical maps and height, let's talk about the first thing you need to consider as a beginning hiker, and that is your distance. So how far are you walking? That is the first thing that you need to consider and weigh against your fitness level. It's really important to know how far you can comfortably go. So do a lot of stuff on flat ground terrain first to determine how long you think you can comfortably go. After you've figured out how far you feel like you can comfortably go, then we have to add in another variable, and that is vertical gain or vertical height. That's how much height you're going to gain over the course of the hike. So vertical gain is a bit tricky, and we're going to use the next sections of trail to illustrate that. First, let's look at Lincoln Woods. This is very flat. There is almost no vertical gain up or down. Our next section is a little bit more strenuous. You can see by this map that shows how much distance you're going to gain upward. And then finally, our last section of Owl's Head climb is the most extreme. You gain a ton of height over a short amount of time. Topographic maps show you this by incremental lines that go up. So the closer the lines are together, the steeper the section. If there aren't any lines at all, it's not gaining more than whatever the measurement is. So that may be 10 feet, it may be 100 feet, depending on how fine your map is. So how do you know whether you can do a certain amount of vertical climb? You kind of won't until you try. So you need to start with something very small, maybe less than 500 feet total for your whole hike. And then you can work your way up. But you also need to pay attention to how steep the sections are, how quickly you're going to climb that vertical. And then one last thing that you really have to consider is vertical is only the measurement of up. You then have to go down. If you're really young and in shape, you can skip this part. Actually, you're not watching this video, so never mind. But if you're like me, you are actually going to do a lot more damage to your body, and it's going to hurt a lot more going down than it does going up. Up's hard. Up's a mental strain and physical strain, but going down is essentially falling every time you step that distance. So your joints are going to be in pain. Something to consider when you think about vertical gain. Oh yeah, I can climb 20 flights of stairs, no problem. Can you go down 20 flights of stairs as easily? You may be able to do it as fast. How do your knees feel afterwards? Your hips, your back, your feet? I've been trying to figure out a way to quantify the difference between horizontal distance and vertical gain. And it's really hard. I mean, there's no There's no like way to scale it out. But what I would say is if you can walk a couple miles and feel pretty good about it, then you could probably do about 500 feet of vertical gain without too much of a problem. When you get into more than that, or ups and downs, it's a lot more difficult. I wish I could say there was a good way to prepare for vertical gain in a hike, but there really isn't. On my first 4,000 foot peak, I did Mount Tecumseh, which is Waterville Valley. And I did it in the winter. I sort of jumped in with both feet, not taking my own advice. And I was approached by a couple younger guys, maybe in their 20s. Both were very in shape physically. To look at them, you would think they were in the gym 4, 5, 6 times a week. And one of them said to get ready for this, he had done the stair stepper and he had done a ton of it and he thought he would be prepared. And I think those guys actually had to turn around on that hike because they expected it to be something that it wasn't. Hiking and vertical gain is not linear. You're not just going up a set of stairs, you're moving all over the place. So it works different types of muscles. You really just have to do it to get practice at it. As you can see, this trail is not as thick or wide as the last one we were on, but it's still very level at the moment. So this is, I would consider this very similar in hiking to a rail trail. We also have pretty easy to walk on ground. The terrain and what you're walking on is something to consider as well. Just like when you walk on tar, it's easier than walking in sand. Same thing with rocks or loose gravel. So you really have to consider what you're going to be walking on. All Trails sometimes tells you what the terrain is like. That's useful. Otherwise, you might have to do a little of your own research. So here's some more varied terrain. We've got some mud and some rocks, and some roots, and some bridges, and a muddy dog over there who got stuck in the mud. Speed is another thing to consider. I just got passed by some trail runners, and it's quite loud because I'm beside a waterfall and a river. But speed is really an important thing to consider because how long do you have for your hike? Are you giving yourself long enough? Are you taking long enough breaks? Are you pushing yourself too hard? If you can't complete a section of a trail, maybe you should slow down. See if you can do it when you're going slower. Or if it's too easy, try going a little faster. An additional thing that you need to consider when just starting out is weather. I'm not going to go into it a lot here. I will say that you just need to be safe. You need to look at weather reports and know what you're getting into. And if you want to know what it's like hiking in the different seasons or at different weather, check out this video. I can't remember which side it's on. If you're just starting out and really have no idea how long a hike is going to take you, a good rule of thumb is it'll probably take you about 1 hour for every mile. Now that might seem pretty slow, especially if you're used to walking at a faster pace. And it might be, but that's a pretty good rule of thumb because you're going to be going up and down, and your vertical gain is going to make some sections faster and some sections slower. So I would say if you've got a 4-mile long hike, give yourself about 4 hours. Good way to start anyway, and then you can dial it in as you get going. As you're hiking, don't forget to take a moment and look at all the beautiful things. It's one of the reasons that you are hiking. All right, to wrap up, number 1, I would look for a small, short path with no vertical gain. That could be as simple as walking around your neighborhood. Number 2, I would add in some length. Make that walk longer. You could do it on a flat path or do something that's going to keep your attention, but make sure that it doesn't have vertical gain. Step 3, do a very short hike with some vertical gain. Some examples of that in New England, if you're from here, would be Mount Blue Job or Mount Agamenicus, but I'm sure you can find your own small mountains or hills to explore. After that, you just add in more length, add in more vertical gain, see how your body reacts. That's how I would start. What I hope you're able to take away from this video is to not be afraid to try hiking, just to do it incrementally so that you learn about your body and what you're willing to do. Don't jump in and do a crazy hike for your first time. And if you're older and used to be athletic but haven't done stuff in a while, don't think you can do the same thing that you used to be able to do. You can't. You have to work up to it. Please subscribe and click that bell notification. It really helps me out. And if you have any questions, go down and leave them in the comments. Or if you have any ideas for how I was wrong, or how a beginner backpacker really should do this, leave those in the comments too. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Interact with my video. I'm trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, and you can really help me do that. So thanks for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one. Barley, we're back. We're back. You excited? Are you excited? Good first 4,000 footer, bud.